So today we're back here enjoying the Mediterranean weather that northern Germany has to offer in my garage while fixing the Yamaha FZR 1002LA on the 3 Miles MC YouTube channel. And with that, welcome back. So after last time dealing with the diagnostics of what could be wrong with this motorcycle from an electric standpoint, definitely check out the last episode. We are today going to address the issue, and that is the neutral switch that most likely is broken. What have we found out last episode? We've found out that the contact that the cable of the neutral switch has to the frame is really bad. Sometimes it does a little bit of firing, but nothing apart from that. I just tried it out again earlier, and my suspicion is that we have a broken cable on the neutral switch. So we will have to exchange that. Sadly, we don't have a lot of video tutorial support on YouTube, and also regarding that topic, and also there's nothing in the workshop manual. So we will just have to wing it, I guess. So let's go. Just for context, this is the part that we need to replace. I'm a bit worried about where to actually plug in this cable, but I think first of all we now need to basically clean all this grease out of this area, because here you see the same part. That's what we're going to take out, but there's a lot of dirt around it, so we can barely see anything. So let's go. Do you see this little screw right here? This little screw is sadly covered by this part, which is, I don't know exactly what, but it definitely feeds cooling liquid into there. So maybe if we want to get this screw out, we will have to basically let all the fluid of the cooling out and take this part off, which would be super inconvenient to take off one screw. So I looked into this. There's no way getting around draining the cooling system, which of course really sucks, but we will get going with this now. The drain plug is not really approachable, and also it's unclear in the manual where that one actually is. So we will just get the hose that's the closest to the water pump off, as that is also, I think, a good approach, and just put a pan underneath the motorbike. So in a really unfun twist of events, we have still this little screw covered, but this part is not movable whatsoever, because this thing is pure metal and is connected to this part, and this part is fixed on the engine, and this is literally a whole engine part. And the whole reason why this doesn't work is because, as you see, part of this part is in front of our screw. So to get to these screws and to properly take this off and check if it's connected to anything else, we will have to take off the seat and the tank, and this is literally a part of the engine. So this is turning out to be the most annoying screw ever. So I just called Cher, friend of the channel, who has given me his Honda VFR ones, and he knows a bit about motorbikes, to ask him if there's any other way to solve this. Until he calls back, let's take off the seat and the tank, because I don't think there's really a way around it, and this thing really goes down as the most annoying screw ever. This is terrible. Taking one screw off takes taking all this bike apart just to get to this one screw.
quiet down just a minute and settle down and have another one. Cause you're tired of the game that remains until you're undone. I hit the wall to the limit. I start over like you just begun. I didn't lie to you because I never knew you. Only time will tell, only time will tell. It won't be over, it's never over. Now I let my feelings in. It won't be over, it's never over. Now I let myself begin.
When lifting the tank, I figured out that this bike was more complicated than I thought and actually had two different fuel cogs, one extra underneath the tank.
It won't be over. Now I let myself begin loving you.
When trying to remove rubber hoses in very cold or below freezing temperatures, definitely heat them up with a hairdryer first to prevent the rubber from ripping apart. But when doing this, be careful because there's fuel in those hoses and don't burn down your bike. So now you see where we have to get to. We need to take off these two screws and these two screws, and I hope that's it, to then take off basically this whole metal part that's combined basically all the way over to here.
Now I let myself begin loving you. It won't be over, it's never over. Now I let my feelings in. It won't be over. Now I let myself begin loving you, loving you, loving you, loving you, loving you.
So as you can see, we now have basically everything off the motorbike to get to the cover of the water pump to get to this screw. And my God, like I was a few times close to becoming Klaus Kinski here.
Schrei ich oder schrei ich nicht? Und du sagst es mir nicht, aber schrei aber nicht. Leg mich doch am Arsch weg.
Because this is insane. Like, I own a French car and having one screw cause this much of a headache is wild. Just for context, if you would bring this into the garage and they would need to do all this work, you would, like, I think a free garage that doesn't have a brand associated with it in my region right now charges 140 euros. And with the occasional smoking break in between, it would cost you a fortune, like the price of the whole bike, to get this fixed. That's the reason why you have to do work like this yourself. So let's get into the real meat and potatoes of what we're doing today, and this is this switch. I mean, it took long enough. As you see, it's dark outside. So let's get this thing off, because the little critical thing that we always try to get to is this screw that I'm right now trying to get the last bits of grease off. So screw number 1. Let's go. Screw number 2. Now we should be able to just take this thing off, but we have all this just goo surrounding it. There are 2 cables that are basically connected to this. This thing is so insanely dirty that we just cannot really get it out because there's all the dirt from all the chain lube over all this time on there. Maybe we can like grab it and pull it out with like this tool. It just seems to be an okay idea. At least we managed to get like a little gap in there. Let's now try here from the other side. Yeah! I think we got it. So apparently the way that this thing operates is that basically when the bike is in neutral, this little bullet is on this metal field, and as a result it allows the bike to turn on. This, as you see, is the replacement part. I'm wondering now what it takes for this to make this work. If it's just going to be in the same position. only obvious issue now is the part where the neutral switch has to be to make current happen is over here, but the bike is not in neutral because it like slipped out of neutral while working on the bike, and the hydraulic clutch is off, so there's no real way to get this bike into neutral right now. Oh, this is a whole nother complex conundrum of how we now get the bike into neutral, because we have to put the hydraulic clutch onto this cover right here, but this cover is of course not sealed because the water pump is not there. And also I once grabbed into the clutch. This is just a mess. Honestly, this motorcycle can be peak frustrating because I just tried to empty out the carbs because on this motorcycle I'm running into issues. This bike doesn't, the main jet seems to be clogged. And I want to prevent anything like this happening on here because the bikes have been standing now for 6 weeks, and yeah, I want to prevent that from happening. Turns out here you cannot let the gas out of the carbs without building the carbs out of the fucking motorcycle. Why? Here you could potentially put a screwdriver through. The problem is it just doesn't line up with the screw. This one you can empty out. I just did that. And here the same issue, but in the hole here in the frame is a cable. What the fuck? If I have to take the carburetors out of my motorcycle to drain them, because I cannot fit a screwdriver anywhere in there to drain them to prevent my carbs from going bad, I'm seriously going to lose my shit. Like, that is insanely frustrating. I tried to find a different path to reach the screws to take out the fuel out of the carburetors, so I had to take off the fairing. After doing this, I was still only able to reach the middle two carbs, and on one of them I stripped the drainage screw. So before installing the new neutral switch, I think it's a good idea to put the shifter of this bike back on and try to get the bike in neutral. Of course we don't have a clutch. I'm trying to get the bike into neutral without the clutch. Let's see how that goes. As you can see here now, the wheel turns freely. So now just disconnected the battery because we will now get into the cables here. Because now you see here, this little bullet is now at the right exact point of the neutral gear. That's fitting with, if you would put this on there, with basically this part right here, where you see this little part of metal, where you would then see the neutral light coming on through this cable. So this cable goes here through the engine into like all this cable stuff, and we will now disconnect it and pull it out and exchange it with this part right here. So zip ties are through. I'm guessing this one gets into here and then somewhere through there all the way down to that. Still have to disconnect this one. It's so dirty. Over here, yeah. So this is disconnected. Over here is the cable. Let's pull it out of the engine. Ooh. We have a cooling hose where I don't know where it belongs to. Not good. That will be our mission for getting the whole thing back together. Here we got it. And now here. So now we got it in our hands. Luckily it's not in this one, otherwise I would be going nuts. So how do we now get this thing off of here? Apparently it's stuck on this little like hook inside there. So let's try to bend it a bit into this direction and then get it out. Come on. Yeah, we got it. Oh no, it was the other side. This is the new part that goes on there. I think it will be quite the pain in the butt to get all this through the engine again. So let's try this the other way around. Let's get the big plug through here and then... So we will now just pull this one through here up onto the point where we can then connect this thing from this side onto here like this. It needs to go through here. Here you see you have this little cable connecting point where you basically collect all the cables so that they have a way to go to. In here, it's important that we take off the battery for this so that we don't have any electrical accidents here. So we have green, green, and red, and red. So I'm guessing we have to turn this around and like this. So the new cable should be connected. So let's take this cable again and connect it to this new one here. Yeah, this is connected. And now we just have to put this thing in here like this. This thing needs to go on here. Basically, the fuck? Are you kidding me? This little cover doesn't seem to fit. Let's try to put this one on here again. Wait, what the actual fuck? Apparently this thing has been like this on there before. Let's look at this on the photos. For real, this thing was like this on the part, but it would belong there the other way around. Like this, it also, of course, will never show neutral if it's actual and neutral gear, because right now this shit is a neutral. To make you understand what my problem with this here is basically, if I take this off now, you see this little bullet. The fuck? This little bullet just moved. Did the bike just get into gear? Oh yeah, the bike just got into gear. What the fuck is this shit? This thing being installed like this would mean that this thing would have to turn all the way to over there in neutral, which it doesn't. Of course, this bike slipped out of neutral again. Okay. Okay. Now it's turning. Okay. Because I don't have the clutch on here, I must have gotten into some kind of false neutral. Because now it makes sense. Now this little thing is in the right position. Let's get a close-up of this. You see, and now it also makes sense for this thing to be installed this way. Because this little metal bullet has to transfer electricity to this cable. Okay, next time this thing breaks, hopefully I'm 45. Let's hook the battery back up and check if this bike now shows a neutral light. So we now have the battery hooked up again. Let's see if the neutral light glows if we shift this motorbike on. Yes, it does. That's really good. Let's see if it turns off when we shift back into first, because that's important. Yes, you see, light is off, light is on. Light is off, light is on. We actually did it. When doing this, I was really worried of this not working and all of it being for nothing because I'm doing this the first time. Now let's just get the bike back together. Let's just have a look at it. It's insane how much building apart it took because of one screw being slightly weirdly covered. Because this cable was approachable with like the water pump on. So if this thing would have just been slightly over there, like none of this shit would have happened. Let's just see if we get this thing back together. After having gotten the confirmation that what we did worked, we can now put the water pump back on and fix the bike and put everything back together. fucking infuriating bullshit. I waited a few days to get this little seal that's supposed to go onto the water pump. Turns out they sent me the wrong seal. And I have to commute here to this garage for over an hour, so I would effectively lose 4 hours of driving time. So 1 hour here, 1 hour back, 1 hour here, 1 hour back, and have to wait like another week for them to reseal, for them to resend like a seal. So I will now just clean up the old seal and hope that it holds up. That's not what you're supposed to do. But I mean, people are surviving with this kind of stuff, so why shouldn't it work now? Let's just pray that the seal doesn't break. Short public service announcement, definitely don't do what I'm doing here in this video, because it can lead to water getting into your oil, and then as a result the oil film basically rupturing and there not being any lubrication in your engine. I did not know this while filming.
Scheiße.
After having the old water pump back on the bike, I want to refill the cooling system with new cooling liquid, but for that I wanted to get the cooling system completely empty of all the old liquids, including the overflow reservoir behind this fairing, which I need to take off. To be fully honest, I did not really know what I was doing, so I was just hammering the hose for the cooling system back onto the mount for it, and still needed to put some covers and part of the hydraulic clutch back on. This one screw was not moving in and I was wondering why, so I built everything back apart, only to find this one cable blocking the view, and then build everything back on top, hold the cable out of the way with a screwdriver, and then build it together. I did not realize that one package of cooling liquid would not be enough by any chance, and there was no opportunity to buy more, so I went to the gas station, got some distilled water and filled up the rest with that to flush the system and also try if everything runs now. So we now have filled up the cooling system of the motorbike with distilled water, and we will now try to have the bike running for a bit to see if everything works out, and also to finally get the fuel out of the carburetors that still is in there. I hope that's enough to fire up the bike, and then see if everything we did worked out.
We
we today now had the proper DIY experience. We thought we can do this ourselves. We exchanged the part ourselves, put the bike back together, and then nothing worked anymore. Yeah, this is quite normal. This happens. And also I think we can be proud of that the point that we actually wanted to fix, which was the electric issue, we managed to successfully actually fix that, in the sense of we can now properly see the green light of the neutral gear and the bike fires up. This is what we wanted. Sadly, the bike doesn't start. I will have to do some further diagnostics of why the bike doesn't start. I am a bit scared that the issue lays in the carburetors, because when I bought this bike, I thought I'll have to work on the front forks and on the clutch, and then I have a good running bike. But then this shit bricked itself, the bike stood for some time, and now it doesn't fire up anymore. So I most likely will in the next episode check if there's any other reason why the bike doesn't fire up, and if it then doesn't have any other reason, it could be the carburetors. And this is really something that I wanted to avoid, because I can admit I suffer from carburetor phobia, and I wanted to learn how to work on carbs, but on a single cylinder bike, and this was actually a project that was planned. But now this shit doesn't work, so now we need to fix this first, and now we have a 4 carburetor bike here. And this is of course a complicated and shit again, so we will have to suffer through this one. I'm definitely thankful for any kind of tips, and definitely check out the Patreon, and see you guys in the next episode.